How do you get out of the friend zone? Is the friend zone even real, or is it just a myth? We'll be diving into those questions and more in today's episode of Borderline Inappropriate
with Merle
and Aria. Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. This is actually going to be our last episode before we take a little break next week before the new year. So next week there will be no episode, as our typical release of Monday is actually happening on Christmas Day, Christmas morning, and I'll be very busy, unpacking what Santa has brought me, so I won't be able to upload a new episode for you all. So next week we will be off, but we will be back the next week with a new episode on New Year's Day, and it's a bit of a big one, that one, so be sure to...
It'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, it'll be worth the wait, so tune in, subscribe, follow along, so you get that notification when the new episode drops.
And follow the podcast Instagram and TikTok, because we'll be posting some fun stuff on there, especially the Instagram too, because we'll do little stories and stuff.
Little behind the scenes tidbits,
updates,
and some exclusive stuff obviously going up on Patreon as well.
Yeah.
Throughout, lots of love to our Patreon members.
We'll be posting some holiday content for the Patreon members.
A little holiday joy, a little holiday sing song maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, today we are talking about the friend zone, and I'm actually looking forward to talking about this one because I think, I think a lot of the friend zone concept and expectations come from movies, romantic comedies, romantic movies, which have been a very big part of my upbringing. I'm a very big fan of romantic movies, rom-coms in general. And I think that helped shape a lot of the way I initially approached romance, love, and my belief previously in the friend zone. What do you think, Merle, about the friend zone? What is the friend zone? What is the concept of the friend zone? And I guess let's talk about why it might be also be taboo for us to even be bringing this up. But your thoughts?
I know why it's taboo.
Oh, well, we're diving right on in. That's what I like.
I think the friend zone is taboo because it can be dangerous. Because, first of all, I think a lot of women are sick and tired of men pretending to be their friend to try to hook up with them, first of all. And I think a lot of men are tired of trying to be polite and respectful and being seen as just the nice guy, just the friend. So it feels like nobody's winning. Well, actually, probably the woman is winning. She's probably dating someone else. But the point is, I think there's contention there. I think and I think it can be dangerous because I think it can also lead to emotional stalking.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's dangerous in the sense that it can lead to a lot of not so great things, and it might seem a little dramatic to say it, but I think it can lead into some very hairy territory as far as like the idea of entitlement.
Yeah,
men feeling entitled to having a woman's body. There's, I think, a lot of correlation to the whole conversation around nice guys and insultdom. That's what makes it a little taboo to talk about, because it could this conversation can rattle a few cages as far as what men expect from women. Not all men, of course. And I think this is again, we never want to make broad, sweeping generalizations, but I think there is a select group of men they'll be very quick to blame the woman for rejecting their advances and making it about them. Making it about the women themselves, making it about, oh, she's put me in the friend zone. Like, what have I done? All I've done is be a nice guy. And I want to talk about this because I think I fell into that bracket a lot when I was a lot younger. In many cases, when a woman rejected me in my high school years or college years, I would put it up to, oh, they're just putting me in the friend zone. Like, why can't they see the value? And, just...
What you as a teenager have to offer?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's why it's an interesting conversation. And I guess to be very quick to address, we should just address the question up the top, which is, does the friend zone really exist? Or is it just a myth that people have created as an excuse, I guess, for being rejected or to soften the blow?
What is the friend zone?
Let's define that, I guess. Yeah, I guess the friend zone is, well, what's your definition?
Well, I'm asking you, what are you saying it is? Like, you're in the friend zone, you can never get out?
Well, the friend zone, I think, typically, like in movies. Well, I mean, we keep. I don't know why we keep going back to Friends examples, because we brought up Friends in the episode where we were talking about taking a break. But there is an example, of course, on Friends with Ross and Rachel, who, if you're not familiar with, they are friends in their friendship circle. But Ross had, for a while, an unrequited love for Rachel, and then Joey at one point calls him the mayor of the friend zone. But that's not just on Friends. It happens in movies. It happens in other TV shows.
Right.
It's
so it's when somebody. It can be reversed too.
It can be reversed for sure. Women.
And it can happen in gay relationships too.
Absolutely. But I think predominantly as far as in pop culture, which obviously has had a very heteronormative slant to it, it's always been typically the man.
That's true.
The man who has been this nice guy who's been kind of spurned by his romantic love has been put into the friend zone because she only sees him as a friend. And I think a lot of guys, myself included when I was younger, saw that and was like, yeah, you know what? It's right. Like, poor Ross, poor so-and-so, you know, why are they getting, you know, only viewed as a friend? They're a nice guy.
It's easy to blame it on the woman when it's like, maybe it's just not meant to be.
That's what it is. I think that's what the conversation around the friend zone is as far as this episode. It's like, is it just a crutch that men use or an excuse, essentially? Is the friend zone more just like this concept, I guess, that's not actually rooted in any truth or reason behind it other than just men saying, oh, okay, she's rejected me because she's put me in the friend zone. It's not about me. It's about her. You know what I mean? It's like, it's on her that she's made this choice to put me in the friend zone. I've done nothing wrong, you know? So I think that's what my stance is. Is that I do believe that the friend zone is, I don't think it's a really very real thing. And when I was searching things online, I found a lot of articles where it was talking about how to get out of the friend zone. It felt weird, kind of icky, honestly. It was like, I'm just gonna read it out. So
did it get red pilly?
That's what it is, red pilly. That's the way I would describe it. Yes, a lot of the conversation felt very red pilly, kind of bordering on that kind of like incel
alpha
space. A little, well, not even alpha, but kind of it felt very like there's a whole subreddit called it's nice guys, right? It's like screenshots of people having conversations with like these self-described nice guys who really aren't nice in the end, right? So if you're ever on Reddit, nice guys, it's at times aggravating subreddit to read because it's just like screenshots of people's conversations with these people who would describe themselves as nice guys, but show in their actions or words to not be very nice guys.
I will quickly say, I think that the friend zone is widely used by straight men.
Yes, I think so too. And please
correct me if I'm
us
wrong.
if we're wrong. But yes, I would say so. Again, that's why I very much attach the idea of the friend zone to kind of like this very specific type of guy nowadays.
And to me, it feels like an entitlement, like you said. To me, it feels like because a lot of straight men maybe feel like entitled to someone's romantic interest. Like, why doesn't she want me? I'm doing all the things it says to do in the handbook.
Yeah.
I am man, hear me roar. But also, sometimes it's like, you know, it is really hard. I don't want to interrupt what you were going to say.
No, please go on.
Sometimes I do feel, here's what I want to make a disclaimer about. I don't want to just sit there like bashing every guy that feels like they have trouble romantically, because it's hard to put yourself out there. It can be challenging to admit your feelings. And sometimes you think, you know, I'm being respectful and I'm doing all the right things according to what women want from wherever you've heard what women want. By the way, if you're hearing what women want from a man, you're getting bad advice. Yeah. I'm just saying. It just doesn't make any sense. And also, the only person who's going to know, like the only woman who's going to know what women want is the woman that you're interested in. Like, all women are different, okay? So, first and foremost, I'm not trying to bash, you know, a bunch of guys that are having trouble dating. I'm not going to do that. Where I'm going to start getting bashy, where I'm going to start bashing, is when men start to blame women for their dating problems. And I'm not saying every woman is a saint. I'm not saying every woman is straightforward and clear with what they want and with their intentions. I'm sure there are times where women like the attention, but they don't intend to go any further with it. Just like men and just like people in general. Sometimes they just like attention. So I just want to put some disclaimers out there. I'm not coming for anybody's throat.
That's a very good disclaimer to have, because I think, as with most things we talk about on this podcast, there is nuance to it, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're not painting a brushstroke over every single guy in this conversation. Same with the women that we're talking about. I'm not saying that every guy who feels they've been friend zoned is an incel or is red pilled or has kind of like that kind of misogynistic viewpoint. But this is just a conversation to hopefully, if you are in that position, maybe understand that there's a lot more to think about, as opposed to just blaming the friend zone or blaming the woman for maybe you're not being in a relationship with them.
Also, you should probably consider, like, if you are romantically interested in someone and they're not interested in you, was that their only value to you? Do you not want to be their friend?
That is, thank you so much for articulating this so well. That's what I was trying to get at. That's the best way of putting it. I think that's what the issue with the friend zone is. There's like that implicit sort of connection that, okay, I'm in the friend zone. That's a bad place to be.
Yeah.
It's bad that I'm their friend.
Right. And then it kind of makes me wonder, what were you going to be like if they were interested? Were you going to treat them like a human being?
Yeah.
You know, like, should you treat people who aren't romantically interested in you with any less respect than you would treat someone who was romantically interested in you? No.
Absolutely. For sure.
What did you have?
Oh, yeah. So
what did you find?
So one of the things I found when I was online searching this about the whole idea of the friend zone is that I did find a lot of articles written by men for other men about how to get out of the friend zone. And it sort of spoke to what you were saying about how it's weird for men to speak for what women want. And that's essentially what these writers were doing. They were writing these articles telling other men, like, this is what women actually want. This is how you need to approach the situation so you're not getting friend zoned. And that's why the whole friend zone concept, I feel, gets really icky. And I think that ties into it. So, for example, I saw articles and their titles of the articles were like, how to avoid being friend zoned as a nice guy. The way they word it is like, they actually use the term nice guy, which culturally, societally right now, I feel like with the subreddit nice guys, and just the term nice guy, there is more of a negative connotation to it than there was previously. So for there to be an article titled How to Avoid Being Friendzoned as a Nice Guy written in a completely serious manner, it feels like a joke, but that's kind of like the stance that a lot of these articles I found took. Another article was titled Why Do Girls Friendzone Nice Guys? And the number one thing they say that men are doing wrong and are being put in the friend zone for doing is respecting women. Which is a wild thing to say. I mean, I'm going to quote it verbatim. It says here, I'm not saying it's about doing the opposite because that's definitely not true. But very often, nice guys focus everything on respecting women as they're too worried about offending anyone. That's sort of like being a boxer in the ring and just focused on not getting punched instead of focusing on not winning. Not getting punched is part of winning, obviously, but the focus should be on winning. See, so that is tying into this idea that's like a game of something.
I'm telling you, they gamify it.
Because if all you're doing, this is continuing the quote, because if all you're doing is focusing on not getting punched, you're not going to take any risk and you're not going to take offensive action. That was kind of the gist of this reason.
That sounds rapey.
They're saying you should respect women, but you shouldn't respect them to the point where you're distracted from the task at hand, which is to sleep with this woman, to be with this woman.
Take what you want.
It's just wild. As well, as I'm scrolling through this article, the number one reason is the heading is respecting women. Yikes. Is the number one reason.
This is a very specific group of people too. We should.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So again,
you did say that up front.
I did say it up front. I want to make it very clear again. This is not. I'm not bashing my fellow man.
But this is where that kind of thought can lead.
Absolutely, exactly. Another reason they bring up in this article as to why some men are failing at getting women or in their pursuit of women is because they're prioritizing being friends first. So apparently you're not supposed to just be friends with women to begin with. They say, and I quote again, basically this philosophy is all about friend zoning yourself. If you go try to be friends with every woman, that's usually what you're going to end up with. Sure, there are stories of guys who end up in a relationship with a girl after becoming friends, but these are usually few and far between. Which, I mean, I have a lot to say on that one, just because I feel like every single one of my 3 long-term relationships, yourself included, began because I was friends with the woman first. Mm-hmm. For us, it was such an important part of our relationship and how it blossomed was like that time we spent getting to know each other, being friends at the office, and kind of allowing ourselves to connect at that, deeper level. That the deeper level that you connect with as friends with people. Same with my previous relationship. It was a long distance relationship at first. We met online and we were friends first. Even the first girlfriend I dated, the first girlfriend I had when I moved to the US, we met in an acting class. We were friends first. So
were you plotting?
I wasn't. That's the thing. I mean, I will say with you, it was different because I did find you attractive, but also I communicated fairly early on.
Yeah, you did. That's a difference.
That's the difference. I communicated early on, and she did. Well, she as in you, Merle did say that she just wasn't ready for a relationship.
Which was true.
And I didn't blame her for that. And so I just allowed our friendship to continue developing. I think in many cases, a lot of people would have said, okay, I'm in the friend zone now. Because we were just being friends at that point. You were talking to me about the people you were dating.
You let me take the lead. You let me take the lead. I think that's the thing. And that's the thing a lot of threads tell you not to do is if you're not taking the lead, if you're putting the ball in her court, then you're doing something wrong. It's no, you're giving her the right to choose whether or not she's interested in you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, first of all, treating women like a human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of these lists tend to dehumanize women, and I do think they tend to almost encourage men to treat women with such disrespect that they eventually might find a partner because they're going to find someone who's not as self-secure that's going to be susceptible to that kind of behavior.
No, very well said. The title of this episode is How to Get Out of the Friend Zone or some variant of that. I'm not sure what we'll title it yet, which is a bit tongue-in-cheek because we're saying the friend zone doesn't exist. But if you actually want the answer to that title, this is it. If there is a friend zone, this is how you get out of it. It's by essentially
treating a woman like a human being and being honest about your intentions, not hiding them. And if they are not reciprocated, if your feelings aren't reciprocated, make the decision. Are you willing to still be friends with this woman without secretly harboring a hope that you can end up together? If yes, fantastic. If no, you probably shouldn't have been pursuing this person anyway. Because if you weren't interested in the person as a person, the relationship wasn't going to be very successful.
Absolutely. And in our case, for example, I made my intentions or my attraction to her, Merle, clear. She told me she wasn't ready. And so we just continued being friends at that point. I mean, you were telling me about people you were dating. I was talking to you about some people I was seeing. Even though I did still have feelings for Merle, I just knew it just wasn't going to happen. And I didn't like hold that over her. I wasn't bringing it up all the time, you know. And I think in many ways that helped her open up to the idea of me in a weird way. I've had people actually message me a couple of times since we started dating, like DM me. They would say, oh, hey, you know, I'm in the friend zone. Can you tell me how to get out of it? And I never really responded to them just because like it's a hard, I mean, we're having an entire episode dedicated to this. So how am I going to convey that in a DM? But that's essentially it, right? It's like, firstly, every woman's different, you know?
That's very important. That's why there's no manual.
Yeah, exactly. So these lists, don't listen to them. And
it's generalizations.
It really is.
When I say like, you know, if you don't want to be friends with the person, you never should have dated them. I'm not saying you have to have slumber parties with this person as their friend. I'm saying if you didn't genuinely enjoy spending time with them, if it is difficult for you to spend time with them because they're not interested, that's totally fine. You know what I mean? I think that what I'm trying to distinguish is if you are pretending to be friends with someone and kind of holding it in and just hoping they'll change their mind, that borders on stalking. And that might be really controversial to say.
I think the word is a little bit of an exaggeration to use.
Emotional.
But I get what you mean, though.
Stalking is aggressive. I agree. Maybe that's not the right word. Stalking isn't the right word. But and actually, it's not even my original thought. I listened to a sex podcast, and there was a male sexologist who was saying, I think guys that become friends with girls and in order to try to date them and pretend to be their friends, it's a form of emotional stalking, or it's a light form of stalking because basically you're not being completely transparent. And think about first of all, why do you need to conceal your feelings? You're afraid of being rejected? Do you think you're going to trick her into liking you? That's not going to happen. Second of all, are you trying to be close to her and be her friend because you want to know if she's dating other people? You want to know where she is? You want to know what she's doing? That's where I'm saying it becomes a little bit.
I'm beginning to see that.
Do you know what I mean?
The word is correct.
because then it's like if you're like, oh no, we're just friends. We can go out together. So are you going to get mad if she ends up hooking up with someone else that night? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the line. I'm not saying, you know, not everyone, once again, but in extreme cases, you have to ask yourself, are you pretending to be her friend because you're just hoping that it can be more? And how much is that impacting your mental well-being? And how much are you being insincere to your friend? Is she your friend?
Yeah.
Because are you being a good friend?
There was another article, 9 reasons why nice guys always get friend zoned. They always use the term nice guy, which like at this point, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but for people listening, even for yourself, like when you hear the term nice guy, do you take it at face value, or are you thinking of it the way I do now? When I see the term nice guy, I think, oh God, okay.
Now it's starting to sound like a terrorist organization.
In many ways, these guys are emotional terrorists.
Scary. Well, the nice guy thing, I just imagine them with like masks on showing up outside someone's house.
Well, I think to a degree it's tied to the whole like, you know.
I like nice guys. Are you just talking about good human beings?
See, that's the thing, right? That's why the term is just so
You're
muddy.
A nice guy.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. But that's what I'm asking. I want to know how you and the majority of people listening take it. Like when you hear the term nice guy, do you think of it as just as it literally
Depends.
A nice guy? Like, oh, your brother's a nice guy.
Depends on the context. Yeah, if you're saying that your brother's a nice guy. But if someone is saying nice guys always finish last, I'm going to be like, is it because they're nice or is it because of something else? Is it because of the people they're going after? They're going after people they're not compatible with. They're going after people that they don't have a connection with. They're not valuing the people they're interested in as actual humans, but instead a prize to be won. Then they're not that nice of a guy.
Yeah, to answer my own question, when I hear the term nice guy, I immediately start thinking of it in a negative sense.
It's different to be nice than to be kind.
And I think it's also very different when a guy describes himself as a nice guy. You know, that's where it gets.
I'm a nice guy.
That's a big difference. Yeah,
it's like what prompts you to say that? If you're a nice guy, somebody should just know that inherently.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, yeah, I think there is an important distinction in being nice versus being kind, because being nice, anyone can pretend to be nice. Psychopaths do it all the time. Sociopaths do it all the time. What are your intentions? Are your intentions to be nice because you're trying to win something over? Like, are you trying almost to manipulate someone into thinking you're a nice guy? Are you really being nice? Or are you genuinely trying to find the cheat codes to get what you want? You know? Because if you're a truly genuine person, a genuine guy, a kind person, then you respect somebody's boundaries and you respect somebody's preferences and you respect, like, you respect people, you know what I mean? But being like, oh, I'm a nice guy, that fuckboy gets to hook up with all these girls. It's like, okay, I mean, maybe he does hook up with all these girls. But again, he's not respecting women either. I'm just saying, like, I think there's too much emphasis on getting girls as a symbol of how interesting or important of a person you are. That's like the main thing. Some people might just be lonely, but either way, I think it comes from a lack of self-worth if you're trying to gamify romance.
No notes, nothing to add to that. That's very well said. Do you have any experiences where you've had guys that you've rejected kind of treat you differently or treat you a certain way because they feel, maybe they didn't explicitly say it, but they felt they were in the friend zone to a degree?
Yeah, I have a very specific story. When I first came to LA and I was single and I went to Lightning in a Bottle, which is a music festival. The people that I went there, we were going there to create some content and to enjoy the festival. And one of the people I had known through a mutual friend, and it was this guy. And he'd always been really cool. We'd always talked about movies. I really liked him. I actually wanted to set him up with one of my friends. Like, we had gone on a hike together and I had invited my friend that I potentially wanted to set him up with. And we went on the hike. It was fine. It was fun. And anyway, so I kind of thought I had made it pretty clear because I was also open with him about the fact that I was seeing people, I was dating people, I was very single. And I don't know, I think I knew there was like a flirty banter back and forth between us. But again, I had really made it clear, like, I'm trying to stay single. There's nothing else to it. There had never been a serious...
This was very early on when you first moved to LA. So
this is like 2 months after I moved here.
And we met, we started talking like months later, and even then you still weren't ready.
Right. Well, I was being serious. I wasn't lying.
Yeah,
I was being genuine.
Of course. Yeah.
And so we went to the music festival. I was excited because he was my friend. And I was like, he's cool. Like, I can't wait to go to this with him. And other people. It wasn't just us alone. It was also for work. So we went to the music festival. We were having a fun time. We had shot during the day. And then at night, we went to one of the music performances, one of the sound stages. And I was having a blast. I was like dancing with people and having so much fun. And I had gotten separated from the group. I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. And I ended up kissing someone that night. And he saw me kiss someone random.
This was the hot firefighter.
I don't think it was a hot firefighter. That was...
She told me about a hot firefighter.
That was another person. But anyway, I remember everyone was texting in the group. They're like, do you guys want to meet up for this next show? And I was like, yeah, totally. So he was like, oh, I'll meet you guys at that stage that I'm at. So he shows up there, stone-faced. So just nothing there. And I was like, hey, you have it? Like, how's it going? Like, oh my God, this is so fun. And he was like, yeah. And I was like,
oh boy.
I was like, are you okay? I thought maybe he got news or something that something bad had happened, like in his family or something. And so I was like, are you okay? Like, do you want to go back? Like, do you need water? I was like, maybe he's too drunk. I don't know. Or he's having some sort of reaction, whatever. And he was like, no.
For the YouTube viewers, a light just died. So both lights end up dying.
Sorry about that.
That's life.
Anyway, so I was like, are you okay? Like, do you need to go back? Is everything all right? And he was like, no, I'm fine.
I feel anxious listening to this.
Yeah. And so then we started walking. I was like, gosh, this place is amazing. And he was like, literally everything I said, he was just like,
oh God.
Yep. And I'm like, and finally I was like, are you mad at me? Like, what's going on? Did I do something? And he was like, honestly, kind of disrespectful for you to just go ahead and make out with someone in front of me.
Oh my God. And
I was like, why is that? And he was like, well, clearly there's something going on here.
Oh boy.
He was like, clearly, he's like, clearly there's something between us. And I was like, actually, I've been really clear with you that nothing is going to happen between us and that I'm only looking for casual things right now. And there's a distinct reason I have not decided to go there with you because I sense it would not be casual. Uh-huh. And he threw a fit. He ended up yelling. He was like, basically being like, you've completely led me on. You've been dishonest. This is so disrespectful. You've ruined my whole fucking trip. He's like, and then you had the audacity to do it right in front of me. And so
Jesus Christ.
Then at this time, I'm like, I have to spend 2 more days with this person. So that was really awkward. And I will say he was under the influence of things.
But hey, alcohol brings out the true colors.
But coherent, not like beyond, Yeah. But I think he probably gave him a little more liquid courage to say those things. So anyway, so then I'm so uncomfortable. And I was pissed, but I was also really feeling kind of nervous around him, honestly, because he was like strong. I'm like, what if he like freaks out on me and like shoves me or something? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we end up walking together because we're still awkwardly walking together and to meet up with the other people. And at this point, I'm like, I need to meet up with the other people and tell them I need to stay the fuck away from this guy.
Yeah.
So we get there. The rest of the time is just silence, just dead silence between us. So awkward for like a good 5 minutes. We get there. Immediately, I find my friend who's there, and I was like, I need to tell you something, but let's just go to the bathroom together.
Yeah.
Go. Anyway, so the next day, long story short, he's gone when we wake up in the morning. He had just left to just go off on his own. He was embarrassed, obviously.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah, and I was incredibly uncomfortable. And then like we just didn't spend any of our time together. Like me and my friend just did our own thing for the rest of the festival. We saw him like in passing at night. But like I did not want to be anywhere near him, and I think he was so awkward. So anyway, him and I never addressed it until like 4 months later, because he still worked. He would still be in the office sometimes. I had to go up to him actually, because I was so uncomfortable. I would see him and he would just pretend that I wasn't there. And so finally after work one day, I was like, hey, you know, that was really uncomfortable how that went down. I felt like there was more going on there than you had let on. And I just kind of want to clear the air here. And he's like, I appreciate you coming up and clearing the air. Yeah, like basically being like, I overreacted.
Did he apologize?
He apologized.
Oh, thank God. I mean, honestly, up
he
until this
apologized,
point,
but it didn't feel like I'm really sorry. Like you know.
well, if he was really apologetic, he would have come up to you. You wouldn't have had to be the one to go to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something wrong in the mechanics of how he was thinking about the situation to begin with.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
That's my nice guy experience.
That's definitely an experience. For me, obviously, as the man, there have been many instances where I have been rejected in the past, and I attribute it to kind of that friend zone experience. But I definitely never reacted the same way this man did. I think in most times, and I think this might be the case for a lot of people that feel like this has happened to them, is that I kind of retreated inwardly. I think it affected my dynamic with these people moving forward.
You made it clear to me when it was too much for you. You're like, I'm too interested in you and you're not interested in me. Remember
yes. Yeah, there was a period of that. And then, I mean, I was being honest with my feelings. And that was, I think, because...
That was a turning point for me.
Well, I think at that point, thankfully, like I said, my experiences where I would blame the friend zone for any sort of romantic failures was like high school or like early college years. So I was like, probably like 15 to 20 at that time, 21. So by the time we were kind of engaging in our courtship, I was already, what was I, 27, 28?
Same age as that guy.
Same age as that guy. And I had thankfully, had matured and grown quite enough by that point to know how to handle and communicate these things, despite the fact that my communication still wasn't the best back then. But yeah, no, that's a wild experience. And no, I'm not going to add anything to that.
Crazy.
There is also a famous meme that made the rounds online a while ago of Morpheus from The Matrix. And basically the meme says, what if I told you friend zoning is bullshit because girls are not machines that you put kindness coins into until sex falls out? Which I think it kind of just sums it up.
That's good.
Very much so.
I like that.
And that's what it is. I keep using the word concept to describe the friend zone, but mindset, that's what it is. It's a very toxic mindset, I would say, to have. I want to now pivot this whole friend zone conversation into the question from one of my favorite movies, When Harry Met Sally. The question being, can men and women really be friends without the sex part getting in the way? I mean, I feel like the very easy answer and the truthful answer is that, of course, men and women can be friends without the sex part getting in the way. But let's dig into that a little bit deeper.
I think that people, aside from asexual individuals, are inherently sexual beings. So I think there's always maybe some level of like calculation, even on a primal level, that might be going on. Like, oh, this person's attractive, or oh, this person's attractive, but they're not very charismatic, or oh, this person's attractive, but they're an asshole, or this person's attractive and I like them, but I also value them around me. You know what I mean? Or I'm not attracted to them, but I value their time around me. So there's always a mix going on. So I think, of course, you can be friends. Like opposite sexes can be friends. But I mean, I think it seems like a silly question to me.
Well, I think
not silly. Not you're silly, but it's just like duh.
Yeah, it feels like a duh sort of thing. But there are, I mean, to like some of these blog posts and manuals that I find online, a lot of them, they imply that if you try being friendly with women, you're going to be in the friend zone. It's one or the other. And again, this is not saying that every guy thinks this way, but there are people that read into these sort of things or read these articles and believe it.
Yeah. Maybe some people are not able to have friends that are the opposite sex without being attracted to them because they need to do some self-work. And they need to maybe start valuing the opposite sex. Specifically, I feel like it's a lot of men, straight men, that need to start valuing women as more than just sex objects. and can learn that they have more to offer with their mind and their experience and wisdom. Romance shouldn't always be the end goal. Diversify the people that you spend your time with. You'll become a more interesting person. Challenge yourself. You know, if it's something that's hard for you, look at why. And stop taking advice about women from men, please.
Yeah. I don't want to call him out, but I guess I kind of am. But
Anyway.
I remember like one of my friends, this was years ago too, but she was a big fan of Matthew Hussey. You know Matthew Hussey, right? I don't know anything about his character or anything like that, but Matthew Hussey is just one of many kind of like dating gurus, I guess, and he hosts seminars for or he had YouTube videos about how to get men. I don't know. I feel like the whole conversation, again, this is not attacking Matthew Hussey specifically. It's just, he's just the one that comes to mind because I remember my friend being really interested in his videos, a woman. I guess I'm bringing it up because I think dating advice in general is kind of hard to apply it to an entire population, right?
Totally.
You know, what's one person likes isn't what another person likes.
Is it different when women are getting advice from a man about men? Well, because it's a man talking about men, right? Like, so is the world of dating advice kind of a sham? I don't know. I think if it's based on how to get the other person and it's focused on the other person instead of focused on yourself and like improving your self-image, then I think it is a sham. Because there's no game you can play to get somebody who's not interested in you. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to last, even if it does happen. You know?
Thinking about like just like these pickup artists and stuff like that. That's its own episode. That's
Yeah,
a wild, wild world. I would love to bring a pickup artist onto this podcast.
Oh my God.
If you are a pickup artist and you want to defend your craft, please come on.
Charm me, please. Win me over. I'd love to see it happen.
But anyway, I feel like there's kind of like, when it comes to these guides online, I would not use them as a reputable source. I mean, if you're looking for dating advice online, gentlemen, I would not take it from these people.
If you're looking for dating advice,
and I certainly would not pay for it. There are people that pay for that from other men.
It's pyramid scheme kind of shit.
And it's wild. Do not pay for dating advice from another man, let alone dating advice in general, but definitely not from another man.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the messaging is dehumanizing women. That's just, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere that lasts. And also, you're going to end up being a lot more close with all the men that you're there with than actual women.
Yeah. Sometimes I watch videos of like, sometimes they'll show like these pickup artists, they film like their seminars or I guess their little outings with their group. And it's just what an assortment of men.
Therapy could be an interesting option.
Therapy would be a very interesting option for sure.
If you can afford one of those dating seminars, you can afford a few therapy sessions probably, you know, because you can talk about your dating and your love life in therapy. But a lot of the way you're going to get somebody that you're compatible with and that you love is by working on yourself at the end of the day. That's the best advice I think you can give anyone. And it works for everyone without generalizing entire populations.
Absolutely. The monetary investment in yourself through therapy is going to be so much more worth it.
You need to build up your own self-confidence. The way to get someone is never to dehumanize them, never to trick them, never to gamify them. That's not going to get you anywhere lasting. And honestly, it's not making you a nice guy. It's making you manipulative, and it's making you creepy as hell. I'm not saying you're creepy inherently, but it's creepy as fuck behavior. So cut it out and start working on yourself and be honest with people. If you have feelings for someone, I know that that's like a really common thing that people are told to do. It's like, tell them, yeah, but what if they don't like me? Well, they have the right to know how you feel, and you have the right to know how they feel. So you can stop wasting your time. And honestly, stop wasting their time or develop a beautiful friendship and, you know, like take it from there. Working on yourself is the best way forward.
That's absolutely right. And you touched upon it earlier, but again, I think ultimately one of the big takeaways from this is that we should be valuing friendship. And I think the mindset of the friend zone devalues a friendship.
What's wrong with a friend?
I have so many wonderful friends, women specifically, obviously pertaining to this, to believe that a friendship only has value with a woman if it has a sexual or romantic potential to it. Icky, not great, not great. And honestly, it's a loss for you. It's a loss in the sense that you could lose out on a wonderful friend potentially because of your behavior or your mindset, once again. Honestly, your personal experience in this, that was like a perfect example, honestly, of how dangerous this mindset can be.